Hello everyone, welcome to the panel of publishing hyper casual and hybrid casual games. We have very valuable panelists today. We have Haluk from Sunday as senior publishing manager, and Roman from Ketchapp as publishing manager, and also we have Matvey from Pratica Games, and I'm from Mass Studio as head of gaming. Today we'll talk about how to publish your games and mostly about the process of publishing, the pipeline, and our experiences about the published games. I would like our panelists to introduce themselves and their companies a bit, and then we will start off with the definition of hybrid casual games. Haluk, could you please start?
Hello everyone, Haluk from Sunday. I'm a senior publishing manager and doing hyper casual for like last 4 years, and excited to be here.
Hello, my name is Roman. I'm from Ketchapp, publishing manager, and I'd like to thank you. It's a nice opportunity, nice to be here. And also, if there are some studios interested in working with us, feel free to talk to me after this or just send me a message on LinkedIn. And yeah.
Hello, I'm Matthew or Matvey from Bratica Games. I'm CEO. We are not a usual hyper casual publisher. We are focused on puzzle with in-app ads monetization, but it's near from hyper casual. Somebody tell us that it's hyper casual. Thank you. Let's start.
Perfect. Thank you very much for the introductions. Now, shall we start with the hybrid casuals? Because, everybody has their own definition. Some versions of includes only monetization side as the hybrid model of ad monetization and in-app purchase. But we know that it has more than that. It has, in terms of development times, also content like maybe gameplay loops, even mechanics and meta game. So let's start with Roman, and could you please give the definition of hybrid casual?
Yeah, sure, of course. So for me, hybrid casual is something, a gray area between hyper casual and mid-core casual games. So it's right in between these two different segments of the market. It takes the best from two worlds, I would say. From the design perspective, it's a hyper casual core with some casual or mid-core progression system and also meta features. And as for the business plan perspective, it has some hybrid monetization, in-app ads and in-app purchases. Yeah. So, but also it's important to know that there is no like one specific explanation of hybrid casual. Everyone sees it as different. For example, idle arcades. Some people still argue whether idle arcades are hybrid casual or not. And it's important to know that it's really a range, starting from not so deep idle arcades and going till super deep Arch Hero. Yeah, so it really depends.
Well explained. Additionally, I can just say it takes like easy to play side from hyper casual. It takes more engagement side from casual games. So they are both, covering up what is missing and what is needed right now in the market. So just in addition to that, that was that's the explanation, I think.
Okay, perfect. I have similar ideas with you. Now, as a publisher or personally, which one would you prefer? Like, you prefer mostly trying hyper casual games, or you try mostly hybrid casual? Because, the industry shifted a bit more to the hybrid side because of the recent store regulations or like the increasing competition and saturation of the market. So what's your decision about it? Haluk, could you please?
Yeah, I'm more like a hyper casual guy because that's what I know the best. So we are into doing a deeper core progression into a classic hyper casual approach. Sometimes some people also name that hybrid casual, but I think that's the different approach on classic hyper casual. So I will go with hyper casual.
And for me, it's why not both? I mean, hyper casual from one side, even though we hear from time to time some bold articles that say that hyper casual is gonna die, it was there, it's still here, and it's gonna be here because hyper casual provides this instant fun to players. It has a really simplistic mechanics. It has a really relatable concepts. So it's enjoyed by millions, hundreds of millions of people all around the world. So hyper casual is definitely here to stay. It is going to evolve. It has been evolving since years, and it's going to be evolved maybe in a deeper segment because with the saturation of the market and with the higher expectations from users as well with the rising CPI, we see that more and more deep games appear, deep segments appear on the market. For example, hybrid casual. So for us, we are open to do hyper casual or hybrid casual as long as the game idea is good and it falls into hyper casual limits. It's perfectly fine with us.
Hybrid casual is more closer for us, for our portfolio, and I think it's great games because of big LTV and retention, and it's give you more possibilities to operate products long period, and this area is not so competitive like hyper casual, and I think it's a great great area for developers.
Thank you very much. So we can say that hybrid casual games has much more higher LTV, so it could compensate CPI mostly, but still hyper casual is still strong. So we also need to try that as well. Now let's talk about a bit from the production side about prototyping. Whether hyper casual or hybrid casual, what's your opinions about speed and quality? Like, how do you balance them so you can be fast enough to stay in the competition, but your prototypes are have quality enough to bring some decent CPI? Haluk, please.
So that's a really important aspect because you have basically like you can improve any kind of game unlimited times, right? There's always better option, but effectively when it's in hyper casual, when it's good enough, it's good enough. Allows you to test the first marketability or when you feel like it is on store level, this is a competitive product, and this is where we stop usually, and our partners as well. There is like a minimum like product level, the quality is always required in the store level. The market puts a threshold on there. That's no surprise. So as long as your product is over the threshold, it's just good to test. And then when you first do the soft launch, you just check the metrics, whatever you are missing, whatever is the weakest link, you just focus on that one instead of like trying to focus, which is already strong, that you just need to target what is the weakest factor for your game. So that's our usual strategy. That's our usual plan.
Yeah, indeed, balancing speed and quality is pretty important, especially right now that it's not like that we can, just push to the store some games without any polish and just wait for them to perform, because we see more and more that even for the first tests, the games are way more polished than before. So it takes more time to develop games usually. So the quality is important, the speed as well. How can we improve that? We have to be efficient. And if I were to summarize in a few points, first of all, for Ketchapp, we really try to be careful about the partners we're picking, we're working with. We're trying to specifically choose partners that that we think we're gonna work well with, and as well we try to balance the number of studios per publishing manager, so publishing manager has enough time to like assist them from the beginning till the end and help them be more efficient. Other than that, also I would say that it's important to decide your goals right from the beginning and work on improving one thing like per test instead of trying to improve everything at once. It also helps you decide your goals and be super efficient. And other than that, it's really important to decide if your game actually needs polish, if this polish or extra quality is a part of your core gameplay. Like if it's a simulation, maybe you should work more on making the visuals look amazing. But if it's not, maybe just not spend time on it. So it's really important to decide whether you actually need that extra polish or not. And as a last point, I would say also it's important to know for a publisher the strength and the weaknesses of the studios, because sometimes when you ask a really hard task and the studio takes this task but can't actually implement it, it's a waste of time for both parties. So it's important to be like, the communication has to be good, and transparency is really important to understand, is it doable or not? If it's not doable, no need to spend time on it, basically.
I think in first state, it's the main thing. It's make speed prototyping, speed updates, and if you see some results that possible to improve, you can make it more quality and more quality. Yes.
Thank you very much. So it's a bit hard to judge between speed and quality. So we need to have both of them in order to test really fast. And also, like if you leave quality aside, it's gonna be a problem about the CPIs. So what's your like? How do you turn your ideas into designs? So it's both fast and a quality prototype. Like, do you have like some kind of trend analysis or market analysis, a different approach, or maybe a method you want to mention about?
Yeah, we do have a different approach about like what to produce. This is the most important question. So first you decide like, hey, what are we going to produce? And Sunday has a very unique approach to that. We can talk in details in person later, but to quickly sum up, we just do market analysis, of course, and we do, I can say, first, we check the audiences, we check the market, we check the traffic. We have plans about these genre or where to focus and how to do it. And according to that, we just quickly, we have different gates. First, the first gate that we have is marketability. We quickly test the marketability. If the project is marketable enough, then we have a check mark there, move on to the next gate, which is a product test. Also product test, if it's working, check mark there, go to the next test, which is monetization. So we use this gate by gate system, makes the production fast, makes the killing of these prototype ideas fast, and also gets you to try a lot of more ideas. And there is no point trying engagement or like, you know, as a whole, it takes a lot of time if the idea is not marketable enough. I'm not talking about any kind of CPI or threshold here. I'm just talking about overall KPIs. So we have this gate system that decides and allows us to go really fast, agile, prototyping and getting results and testing as well.
Yeah, and we also trying to always analyze the market and understand what works best, to understand the trends and pick some interesting ideas, try to combine them with some other mechanics, some working mechanics. So that's how we start. And I think it's really important right from the beginning of the project to know what exactly this project needs and what you're going to do. Right from the beginning, you have to know what's going to be your exact steps. And because if you think from the beginning, it also helps you to be like to implement the right things in the game without spending too much time and without losing time and with a nice quality actually. Like for some games, marketability is the first things we look at, but when we try more deeper games, we naturally expect it to have a really good retention and playtime even from the first test. So it really depends, and we have to adapt ourselves and focus on the right things.
Okay, the first step is market research. It's a very big, very big step to find the same apps, trying this, play this, and after that you can make some games looks like the trending games, or maybe you can improve it. And the main idea it's what players love in this game. It's the main question for us. Yes.
Thank you very much. So we ideate at the same time we continue to produce our prototypes. So at some point we need to decide something because we have limited resources. So we need to sometimes iterate the tests and at the same time ideate new games. So what's the trade-off here? What do you think it's better, iterating promising game or trying new games, new ideas? What's your approach here?
For us, like first after the first test, it's all about also like data, right? So you can obviously see from your experience how far you are into a product. So it's basically if your LTV is greater than your CPI, your game is profitable. So you can see how far you are, and after the final monetization test, that will tell the whole truth. And sometimes if you're so far off, it's just like you can just calculate the time that you are going to put in and then just move away from that project and start with a fresh one, fresh mind. It is a matter of experience. It is a matter of product as well. So a lot of testing and like the experience depends on this one. Again, it also a gut feeling. Sometimes I do have games that I like so much, so I usually try hard to make them profitable or successful. So, but also data usually tells you exactly when to abandon. I mean, if you're far off, you will be far off. There's no such a thing as improving your retention by 100% or like, I don't know, increasing your playtime as, I don't know, 100%. It's a myth. So we usually just check and move on to the next project before it's too late and you just invested too more time into that one.
Yeah, and completely agree with you. And also each game is different. You have to understand what's working good for your game, what's not working, which metrics to expect. Like it's completely normal to have really high in-game in idle arcades, or a really low CPI for some simulations on TikTok trends. So you really need to understand what you need for this game, how you're gonna make the iteration, and make a plan of things you can do to iterate. If the first test was successful, of course, you have to make a plan and see what can you do next. And you go one by one, step by step, trying to improve. If you see that you're approaching the final goal with each test, of course, you're going to keep iterating because it's working. However, if after a few big iterations, you are standing at the same place than before, it's just really better to scrap the project, keep the learnings, because even if you kill the game, you learned a lot during these iterations. It helps a lot. So these learnings are really important for the future projects. You know what's working, but also what's not working, which is pretty important. And yeah, just pass to a new project because even though sometimes you love a game, the whole team loves the game, everyone is really excited about it, and everyone thinks that it's going to be a hit, and then you have $2 CPI. So it's tough, but don't trust the feelings, trust the metrics. And yeah, it's important to know when to kill the game as well as when to iterate.
It's great points. Metrics, it's more better belief in metrics, but sometimes I think you need belief in products. And we have some cases when we made all of steps, all of polishing steps, and made game. Metrics was not good enough, but we risk and made global launch and take not good enough results, and some of our team say we should kill this game, and some of team, me, said we need to make more effective creative, and I believe in this game. We take 3 or 4 months for iterating creatives, and after that we relaunch this game and take great results, and half a year we continue by traffic and make it profitable, all project. And metrics is the main, but sometimes your belief it's main too.
Thank you very much. So let's say we have some decent results, we make some iterations, and we will go to soft launch. So which A/B tests do you make or prefer before, during, or after soft launch while making iterations?
Well, during the soft launch phase, pretty much all of our tests is A/B, maybe in the ABC, ABCD. You need to be agile on that point. So the time is very valuable. You need to test some stuff. You need to be able to test some stuff all over, like all at the same time. If you do it manually, it would take months. So you need agile tests, and we usually test out the monetization style, the cooldowns between interstitials or rewardeds. You just like mix and match, play around things. This is why tests for. I mean, if there wouldn't be, like, no one can be sure what will be the best for your game. So it's about doing tests in agile way, because I mean, then someone would be just say, hey, this is going to work, and that will be just work out, right? So this is why we are doing tests, and it's all about doing the tests in an intelligent and agile, in an intelligent and agile way. So I can clearly say we are doing pretty much all test A/B at the soft launch.
Yeah, each game is quite different. For it, they require different A/B tests. You might need to do different tests for each game. But if we were to generalize in, let's say, 3 points, some tests that you can do for almost each game, I would say first monetization, of course. You can test different interstitial frequencies. Also, for some games that are not level based, maybe triggers of interstitials. Maybe you want to push the first interstitial later or earlier. And also rewarded videos. What's the placement gonna be? What's the reward gonna be? And also even the design of the rewarded videos is important. Secondly, I would say not monetization, economy. How much the players are gonna earn, how they're gonna spend their money, how fast they're gonna earn, and how much they're gonna spend. Basically, it's important to really find the right balance in some, especially deeper games when economy means a lot, and such as idle arcades. And thirdly, I would say progression and balancing as well. How hard the game is. Is it easy to progress? Is it hard to progress? Are you going fast or slow? How much time it takes to finish a level? We noticed during a lot of tests, actually, even if it's counterintuitive, sometimes you make the game harder and players like it. Like you see the improvement in KPIs, which is counterintuitive because in hyper casual it has to be really easy, but it works. So you never know until you test. And yeah, these were the like 3 main points. And if I were to be specific, you have to really test things that are working on your core gameplay core. Like let's say for puzzles, it's really important to have a nice balancing. So the wrong balancing can really mess up the whole metrics. Let's say for shooters, it's important to find the right aim. If the aim is clunky, it's tough to control it. It's also gonna mess your in-game. So you have to really find the right aim. You have to try different things. Yeah.
I think if you do games, you should make A/B test constantly on tech launch, soft launch, after global launch. You should think about what will do your app better and making test in products or maybe in ACO or marketing, but it's publisher side. For example, for now we make A/B test between mediation partners, and you should make A/B test constantly.
Thank you very much. So we make monetization tests, maybe sometimes even input mechanics and also the feeling of the game. Maybe if we want to add some content and see the results of it, we also can add it to the tests during soft launch. And also at the same time, there will be marketing tests, like testing different creatives, even maybe some icons or some store visuals. So let's say we have a successful soft launch, and how do you decide that you are ready for the global launch?
Yeah, we usually, like I mentioned before, you have other products as well in that genre. So you actually know like what is a good, I can say, let's say a runner needs as a metric. So you have a basic target there. You have like a basic threshold, and then after your first soft launch or tests or these A/B tests, then you, just because you have enough data, you have a chance to compare with your previous products or your ongoing products, and then of course the first thing is your LTV has to be greater than your CPI, and then throughout these days, like 14 days or something, after you have this data, you are profitable. Okay, your product is a good product, ready to scale, and then just compare with the other data that you have. If there are some gaps or like the obvious differences, you just like try a couple more times until they also find the minimum level, and then then you should be good to go. But we usually never stop trying on a live ops level. So on a live ops level, we usually keep testing stuff. I mean, you can always improve. If we have or studio have the bandwidth, we usually never abandon the game. Just like, hey, this is what this game can do, and just leave it be. No, we always keep pushing as long as we have the bandwidth. Our studio has the bandwidth.
And for us, of course, LTV is a big metric that helps you decide if you're ready or not. If it's good enough, we know that we are really close, or we are already ready to the publishing. Also, it's worth mentioning that at Ketchapp, for us, profitability is more important than visibility. So if the game is profitable, if LTV is good enough, we are going to publish it. Of course, other than LTV, you have to take into consideration some other specifics, like you have to be careful that your CPI is really stable and it's not rising fast, because the worst nightmare is like your CPI skyrocketing after the launch. So you have to have a stable CPI, you have to have some backup creatives, a lot of good creatives that can replace it in case of. Also, it's important to have a solid, nicely working build without ANRs, crashes, without major bugs, with optimization, with good FPS. It's really important to make sure that your product is stable and you're not going to lose people just because they're like bugs. And yeah, I would say that's pretty it.
On first step, when you decide to make a game or publish game, you need on market research define the key markets, key countries, and test monetization and LTV tests on these countries. It's our way. Usually we make tests on India or same countries, and when we see that game have a great LTV, we make soft launch on US, and if we see good result after that, we made global launch.
Thank you very much. Now a bit of benchmark or example. Let's say we published a hyper casual game. Did you experience something like turning it into hybrid casual, or maybe add some meta, like for example, we have seen games, runner games, like implemented arcade idols as a meta to them. Can you please give any example if you encountered, or what do you think about this concept?
Yeah, so in last couple of months, I've some kind of experienced exactly what you mentioned. So we found ourselves adding layers and layers and layers onto our game, and then like one day I played the game, I was like, what have we done? I mean, so many layers. It's like it wasn't like a hyper casual anymore, just because we wanted to make it more engaging. We added that much many layers, so then we recognized we were kind of out of the road. So to be back on track, we just started from scratch. We had to rethink everything that we did on that game, on that prototype. So recently happened to me because you need more engaging products now, because like the market requires you to do so. So to make any product more engaging, it's not always about the layers. It's all can be engaging core gameplay, can be also these kind of engaging layers that from any type of hyper casual and casual games as well. So yeah, it happened.
For me, I would say that I see that there is a belief that transforming a hyper casual game into a hybrid casual game is like easier than just making a hybrid casual from zero, which can't be, is not true for all the time, because when you try to transform hyper casual into hybrid casual, you can't just put some monetization like in-app purchases, some Arch Hero UI, and some meta, and expect it to perform good, because you're changing the DNA of the game, and it was working before because it had this DNA specifically. If you add layers and layers on top of it, like you said, it's gonna become something completely different, and there is a high possibility that your audience is not gonna like it. So that's why it's really important, I believe, when you're making any game, basically, but also hybrid casual, to, from the beginning, from the ideation, you have to decide what meta you're going to choose and which gameplay you're going to choose, how you're going to combine them both. They should be really working together well, otherwise it's not going to be really profitable, as I see it. Yeah.
I think if hyper casual game doesn't work, make bad result. It's if you add to this game some mid-core mechanics, it doesn't work. Still doesn't work, because it's very hard way. You need so big time for making this, and I don't believe in this way. If you want make some products, you need to. It's a great point. In the first step, you need to have idea of with hyper casual mechanics and mid-core, and maybe it will be work. But if you first think it's make some hyper casual games, it doesn't work, and you think, oh, maybe I can get competitive metrics, mechanics, or others. I think you should start new game. Is my opinion.
Thank you very much. So let's say we launched our hybrid casual or hyper casual game, and what's the difficulties during post-launch, and how will you overcome them? Can you give some examples?
Sure. Yeah. First difficulty was always you are trying to be more agile, and team is not ready for a launch. So in terms of speed or like the technical capability or anything else, I mean, this is like a partnership game, right? So if your partner is like in terms of level or like anything, I mean, this is a partnership game, like I mentioned. So in these, when the studios are a little more unexperienced, then it becomes a lot harder because they get excited, and then everything becomes now much more difficult when you're excited. But then they try to do everything at once. They just do their best because they're excited. They just like take more times a day. Take more times in a day to like work on this project because they potentially they feel like they made it as well. So there were a lot of I can say tiny bugs in the game, so that these causing a drop in LTV. So like we had to identify the reason why, and because like this game was performing much better, while why is it performing much worse suddenly now and then we identify a bug, we identify a gameplay bug. So usually the excitement or the is like a really killer in the steps. So the first thing I can clearly say that, and the second one was, of course, there are some unplannable, like for example in the scaling phase, you'll never in first days you will never see if your game will be scalable, your campaign is going to be scalable or not. So that's another big factor that makes your game successful or your a failure. So these two usually.
Yeah, I completely agree with Haluk on the point of being agile. And once you launch the game, it's not finished; it's only starting. So you have to really work closely with the team, and they have to work fast. You have to work fast. There are a lot of things to do, and a lot of unpredictable things happen. Like suddenly everything was good, and then you lose. You lose CPI, KPIs, and it's really tough. But well, you have to have a nice communication, have a nice team, and be constructive in that point. Also, other than that, some other specific examples. For example, during our last few games, we had this issue with the build size. Like the size of the build was too high, and we couldn't really add new levels because the size was too high, and we were losing our like more advanced players who wanted to play more, but there are no more levels. And so we had to do an optimization with the size and then try to add new levels without making it too tough. So it's really it was a tough period. And other than that, CPI can be always the problem. Sometimes it just goes up and there's nothing you can do. You have to try other creatives. You have to keep constantly trying to find new creatives and improving what you have in your hand. And well, the last one would be probably adding more content to the game, because you know that you have to add content, but you're never sure that your audience is actually going to love that content, because they're staying there for the first batch of content you had, but after that each thing you add, it might result in a fail. So you have to be really careful to not break the game structure, to keep the same vibe, and also trying to bring something new to the game so they don't fall off. So it's really tough middle ground.
You made a global launch. You see the great results. All is good. You are happy, and the main difficulties in this case, be ready for troubles and problems, because you see great results and think it will be forever, but it's not. And some technical issues, marketing, creative will be fire, and we make analysis to recognize some issues, and it's very main thing after global launch. Be ready and check some troubles.
Thank you very much. So, as studio publisher partnership, we need to be aligned with each other and have a synchronization in terms of live ops, and also you need to have some resources dedicated to that product, even if it's like adding some content or making the metrics better. And also you constantly try on the marketing side for the creatives not to lose momentum. And thank you very much for your opinions. Do you have any other thing to say before we receive our questions?
For partner studios, please feel free to reach out to us from sunday.gg. We are always very eager to work with new partners, and we are open to like any kind of partnerships. Don't be shy. We can just talk about games as well. You don't have to work with us. So also, thanks for listening. Very excited to be here.
Yeah, thanks a lot, everyone, for being here, for listening. I hope it was somewhat useful to you. And also, again, if you're interested in working with Ketchapp, you can contact me in Turkish or Russian if you want, because I can answer both. So, yeah, if you're interested, please contact me.
Thanks. If you have a puzzle with in-app ads monetization, we can speak about them because we have expertise on these products. Thanks.
Thank you very much, and also thank you for the audience. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. Thank you for all your insights. It was very useful, at least for me, but I assume that for the audience as well. So we heard a lot these two trends, what we're experiencing on the hyper-casual games market right now. This is the increasing CPI and the decreasing ad revenue. So let's assume for now that these two trends will continue. Do you have any prediction? Because you have billions of data. So do you have any predictions that when will the hyper casual genre be not profitable?
If I may say, for me, as we seen from before, we see that hyper casual sometimes struggles and it has its downs and ups. And it's also important to know that we're just out of the global pandemic, which boosted the hyper casual a lot. So it was not really natural. So now if we see a fall, it can be also part of the reason because we are actually returning to normal. And also we've seen a lot that like some old hyper casual trends are coming back, and we always thought that we would go only forward, but sometimes old trends are coming back as well. So I don't really think that it's gonna instantly just die. It's gonna evolve. It's gonna change in something else, because if you look in 2017-18 ultra casual games, it's not the same anymore. The market is not the same. It doesn't mean that hyper casual transformed into something different. It's just natural evolution. So it's going to evolve in the same direction. Maybe we're going to have deeper games, maybe not. Maybe older trends are going to come back. We just have to keep up with trends, and yeah, I believe that.
If you see the CPI, usually if we see the CPI is higher, we see LTV is higher. If you see if you see CPI higher and LTV down, I think your game is not good enough for market. It's my vision of this.
So in every kind of economy system, in any kind of market, there's an invisible balance. So in these terms as well, now there's a trend, like you mentioned, but there's an invisible hand will balance stuff soon. So there will be always a need for these people who are not a gamer but likes to play a game. There will be always need a game type for these kind of people. And if the balance somehow like this still working somehow, and then it will get balanced invisibly in like after some time of period, this is a very like a known economic thing. There will be a balance. Like when you it's just a matter of time. But we also had these waves back then in hyper casual again, and as Roman just mentioned, the system is somehow evolving into being profitable again in a way of B or C or D. There will be a way, and it will get balanced eventually.
All right, thank you.
Do you have another?
Thank you for the question. I want to just explore the roots of that question, actually, because if we consider it a non-profitable business, maybe we have to talk about the dying of the genre. If that's so, that was the question. What would you think? Hyper casual genres are gonna die, or I don't think so. But what do you think about it? What do you think about the feature of the genre? Maybe elements of that genres are going deeper, core mechanics are more polished. What do you think about it?
Yeah, again, there will be always a need for those kind of people that who just likes to play games but not gamers. Like, you know, my mom, she's not a gamer, but she wants to spend some time clicking on random stuff. Maybe, I mean, there will be always my mom, and like, yeah, hopefully, there will be always these kind of guys that needs these kind of games. So you can call it hyper casual, you can call it, I don't know, whatever you like. Yeah, but this thing is evolving, and because there will be always the need of this kind of games. So
actually, maybe it depends on the instant serotonin needs of the people. Maybe
Definitely.
depending, yeah, I believe that. Depending on that, that's why I believe the hypercasual genre may be evolving through time with the strengthening the core elements of the game, core mechanics, structure of the game story. Maybe those elements are gonna polished more rich way.
there are multiple ways.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah.
as you said, there are multiple ways to do that. I believe hypercasual is gonna be with us.
yeah. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Selim. I'm a co-founder from Sonda Creative Studio. Thank you all for your great speeches and the presentations. Just jumping on something more specific about the processes, which for us as a studio is really important. I mean, we are already used to the prototyping fast and killing as fast too. But my question is, what's the likeliness of a game being published after soft launch, or what can be some of the difficulties that a game can occur during this process and during the launching process?
So just to make sure I understand right the question, do you talk about hyper casual games or like hybrid?
Yeah,
or like,
yeah. Hyper casual games, hybrid,
games.
Any type of snackable games that we are also working on publishing games.
So your question is what are the risks? What are the
So direct question is the difficulties that a game can face during the soft launch process or after soft launch and during the process of verifying if it's a publishable game worldwide.
All right. Well, there are a lot of difficulties actually. All games, they're unique and they have unique difficulties as well. During the soft launch process, sometimes, let's say just one example, we have a really good game with strong in-game, and something happens with the monetization and it completely breaks the in-game. Like there is it goes down half, the playtime and retention. And we try to understand, we check the funnels, we check the everything that we can check, and there is no literal explanation. Sometimes it's a technical bug, sometimes people the ads, they're not shown correctly and it breaks the game, sometimes it crashes, because when you add ads in the game it changes a lot of things. So, and also each game is not well, like you can't expect the same behavior from people that play different games. Like let's say from some games monetization doesn't really bother players, but from some games when you put your ads and it breaks the flow of the game, it makes it less satisfying. People like some games they're really ads are really breaking the game, so that's one of the issues for me. Also there is also this point where you are reaching that really high point, but it's just a little below the launchable metrics. And whatever you do, it just, you plateaued. You just standing there, you're trying different things over the weeks, months, and nothing works. And as the time progresses, also the CPI starts to rise. Other people start to make similar games, and you see more and more on that of the market. So the game simply slowly bleeds out. I mean, these were my two examples, but of course there are multiple things that can occur to a soft launch state.
Yeah, thank you. Just a follow-up question on this one. I mean, because the partnership goes both ways in this matter, a studio and a publisher. What can be the soft cushions? For example, if us as a studio invest so much time in and efforts in order to make the game into soft launch, and then after soft launch we receive like some bad news that we have to kill the game. What can be some of the like reasons that we can keep up together in order to reach, or like ultimately receiving like the final notice that we agree both that we should kill?
So when you see that the metrics are not going in the right direction, and also it's not everything is not about the metrics, of course. Some games they're kind of more likely to succeed, let's say. With the experience you start to understand what games work, what games can be actually scaled, and what games don't have really that big potential in front of you. But the metrics are still important, and if they're not going in the right direction, if you don't have any new creative ideas and new approaches, of course you have to keep looking for them. But if it starts to drag out, and because both parties, they lose momentum as well, they lose time, they lose resources, energy, and also motivation as well, because keeping working on the same game again and again and again is just too exhausting. So after a while, when you see that if you reach that state, it's really better to start on something new. And also you can also always recycle the game. You can keep the concept but rework it in another way, so you actually use some of the same like assets, let's say, some of the same progression, economy, you already have that. You just try to understand what our mistake was there, why we couldn't achieve our desired results, and what can we change, what mechanic to add, or maybe we can change the setting or the progression system, and you can actually build the game from, like, you already have something and you build it again. Yeah, that could be a possibility.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions?
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the panel talk. Publisher to publisher, I have a question.
Sure.
As trends come and go, in the golden age of hyper-casual runner was all the hype. I guess that's less the case now. What would you say, like, when you have studios coming up with ideas, or when you do ideation on these ideas, what would you say is your main go-to as a game genre, sub-genre, actually, in hyper-casual?
This is completely personal. So I love RPG elements. I'm a huge Diablo fan. Again, this is very personal. I usually like these kind of games, and I again personally hate runners because I found them very basic and unenjoyable. So again, that would be the answer to your question, but this is again very personal. I'm not suggesting anyone to do it.
If I were to answer from Ketchapp standpoint, I would say that we are open to test all games as long as they're interesting, of course, and they fall into hyper casual. But again, we've seen more and more that we are kind of testing more deeper and deeper games. Not that we really aim to become this ultra deep studio. It's just we like testing deep games. We find it enjoyable, and our studios, most of our studios and partners, they also like this approach. So if you check our portfolio, our latest games, there's not too many like ultra casual games or runners. It's basically arcade games with a bit more deeper, different mechanics. So I would say we're open to do everything, but for some reason there is a trend towards more games, more engaging games, let's say.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other questions? Okay, looks like we don't have any. Thank you very much for your opinions and also for your questions, also for the Hyper Games conference. Thank you very much for this great event. Have fun.